Oh, hello. Today we're going to have a deep analysis of the Exaction squad, that's the Adeptus Arbites kill team, and the miniatures. I know we've looked at them in overview while I was very tired, and now we're going to look at them in depth. So we're going to start off with the Proctor Exactant, and this is a very busy slide because it's where I'm going to talk about most of my remarks that kind of apply to the whole squad as well. So this is the Proctor Exactant over here. I know I've cluttered the slide with loads of images. The first thing I have to say is I really love this design. It's a really clear homage to the Arbites champion with shotgun from, I think, 1992. I think it's a Jez Goodwin as well. So it's a very famous, iconic kind of a miniature. And the pose and the bird hat here are spot on. I'm kind of sad we didn't get the trench coat. It's really silly to have a trench coat over a full suit of armour. But they've done loads of Space Marines with trench coats over their armour, and it just gives you a nice bit of cloth and something different to paint. So I am quite sad that we didn't see the trench coat, but there we go. Now, it's really interesting to me that they've gone for the shotgun. I guess a lot of people hoping for like a plasma pistol, a power maul kind of combo. For all we know, he could come with separate arms. So, this could be an option, and there could be another piece on the kit with a different arm. They've done that before. They don't, even when they show off everything in the box like this, they don't necessarily show off every option that they have for every model. So bear that in mind. Now, from the look of this big drone thing with the loudspeakers on, it looks like he's probably got some kind of aura buff or debuff or an orders mechanic. So maybe the shotgun is good advice. Maybe he's the kind of leader that you want to keep safe at the back of the board, actually ordering people around and shooting a shotgun, which is cool. Talking about miniature design, it's pretty interesting to look at the miniature in terms of where it's come from. So these are not actually the first sculpts for Arbites, but kind of the iconic 90s 2nd edition era Arbites, right? And there's a lot that stayed the same. So we've got the red chain. We've got obviously the eagle helm. If you look at this guy, they've got one big pauldron with the winged fist symbol of the Arbites. They still have that winged fist symbol on the pauldron there. But if you notice, what's happened is, if you look at Judge Dredd up here, Judge Dredd has his eagle pauldron on the left. In the 90s, the Arbites have the eagle pauldron on the left. The sisters have their, it's not a winged, in their case, not a winged fist for the Arbites, it's a winged eye. The eye is basically like a crucifix metaphor as far as the sisters are concerned. So, and theirs is on the right. So now to match that, the Arbites have moved their fancy pauldron to the right hand side. And it's just interesting to see, like, you can see the really clear design cues. Judge Dredd has this weird kind of padded knee pad thing going on, which is segmented, and again on his toes, these kind of segments. And you can see these are echoed in the 90s Arbites. They're actually picked out here in yellow, which makes it really easy to talk about. Kind of got the segments here on the knees and the sort of lines here on the toes. And on the gauntlet here, you can see you've got the same kind of flared out bit here and the same kind of lines here. And all that detail that's very evocative of Judge Dredd is gone. And like on the champion here, they have the chain going down to the front here, going to the handle of the pistol, which is very evocative of Dredd's chain that he has going onto his badge from his collar. And again, that's gone. I mean, there's a little bit of chain here to his like little fist keyring, but the big looper chain that is very Judge Dredd-esque is gone. But they've hyped up and kept the eagle, which was original to 40k. They've kept the shotgun, which is original to 40k. They've kept the fists that are original to 40k. Dredd does like an eagle as well. I guess they've both got eagles going on. Games Workshop weren't about to abandon the eagle. We got the sort of single wing skull on the shotgun here, which is kind of morphed into a single wing eagle head on the shotgun here. But I think where they have taken influences from Judge Dredd out, they've kind of made up for that by looking at things from the Sisters of Battle. So the new helmets They're very reminiscent of the Sisters of Battle helmets, right, in their shape and their design with the visor. But of course, to keep that iconic, and it is a Judge Dredd thing, and they have kept it, the thing where the mouth and the chin are very visible, which they all have. So they've kept that. So the bit here that is the same kind of, it's got the same kind of pointed shape at the top as the Sisters helmet. Right, and it slides up, as you see in some of the other models, in the same way, but it doesn't come down and cover the mouth in the way the Sisters one does, so you've got that iconic Judge Dredd thing of the mouth being visible. So they moved away from Judge Dredd by degrees, and they've replaced it with cues from the Battle Sisters, which I think looks pretty cool. I'm also really... I mean, the Sisters wear power armour, it's fully enclosed. The Arbites usually wear carapace armour, and they've kind of added this abs window over the abdominal area, which, you know, allows the idea because it's a good place to get stabbed, but it does let you see the lovely, like, dress. You can imagine, just from seeing those brass buttons and this bit of fabric, you can imagine that they must have lovely grey, like, dress tunics that they wear in the Fortress Precinct, and the armour straps on top of that, and you can see some of the strapping down here, and the strapping on the legs, which is really similar to the way the Sisters' armour looks to layer up as well. So I really do enjoy the aesthetic of the model, which is really good. There's been some eyebrow raising by, I think I've seen it in 2 places now, people going, why have they got the sort of fist symbol? So the fist symbol has always, like since the early 90s at least, been the symbol for the Adeptus Arbites, sort of winged fist. You can't quite see it. It's on this shoulder here. You can see the red is the fist, and the wings are white, and you can see there's a winged fist down here. And they all have the winged fist. The Arbites, the new ones, all have the winged fist repeated up here. It is the symbol of the Adeptus Arbites. Probably originally in the 90s it was intended to be a reference to the mailed fist, right, which is a sigil meaning overwhelming force. The cat badge of the Royal Armoured Company, for example, British real-life tank regiment, and it's not supposed to be a weird use of the raised fist, which is a sort of sigil associated with revolutionary social movements, I think first used by the French revolutionaries, and then going through being associated with trade unionist movements, communist movements, feminism, Black Lives Matter, any kind of revolutionary social movement. And so seeing that on a police force is kind of counter-intuitive, I suppose. But it is a very old thing. They're both very old. You know, it's a very old symbol. So is the mailed fist. Games Workshop's decision to use it for their police force is a very old decision. From a time when people were, I guess, just generally less, like, if you're a guy with a history degree working and sculpting cool little miniatures in Nottingham, and you go, oh, let's put a mailed fist on here, maybe unaware of the other use of the symbol, I don't know. And it comes down to, should Games Workshop change decades-old pieces of lore to be more socially conscious, I guess, which is a really big topic that with like really strong pros and cons on both sides, that I really don't want to get into in this video, but I didn't want to just gloss over it either, so I've mentioned it, and feel free, if you want to have a big discussion about it in the comments, then that feeds the algorithm, doesn't it? So, you know, good. Anyway, let's move on to looking at some pretty miniatures, which is what we're actually here to do, yeah? So this guy is either a comms or a veteran. So when I first saw him, I actually thought he was a trooper because I'm blind. And then a friend of mine, Oro on the Discord, pointed out he's got all these aerials. And then Zimbab pointed out he's also got like loads of purity seals. Like everyone else has at most 1 purity seal. This guy has 4 purity seals that we can see. So maybe he's a comms that does comms things. He's got a comms bead. He's got aerials. That seems likely. But maybe he's some kind of veteran. You know, thinking of the Phobos, where the veteran is denoted by a big purity seal, where he gets like some war gear. Maybe they have, as I've previously speculated, special shotgun shells for their shotgun that are equipment, and this guy can get them for free. I don't know. If I had to put my money down, I would probably err on the side of him turning out to be a comms, but I think a veteran is not like totally impossible. The Marksman, So most likely a silent sniper rifle. I don't think there's really much to say here. The only thing that's really interesting here is we're talking more about this when we get to the gunner. Is this guy going to share a slot with the other gunners in the same way that Kazakin do, where it's like, you know, you can take the sniper and you can take 3 gunners, or you can take 4 gunners and no sniper, so the sniper's effectively one of your extra gunners, despite being a different data sheet. We'll have to see. I think that makes sense in terms of Into the Dark, where a sniper is not particularly useful, and being able to swap your sniper out for something like a melter gun is probably a good shout. But yeah, that'll be interesting, especially because we know now Games Workshop views silent snipers are supposed to be in open world boards. You're supposed to have a vantage point for your silent sniper to sit on. That's like part of the balance of the team. So again, that does mean that Into the Dark they're much less good because the silence is going to come much less often, and maybe you'd rather have a melting gun. Just to point out as well, he has a fun little extra laser on the side of his helmet. I can see people missing that and gluing on the wrong helmet when they assemble them. So he does have this extra special hat that's got a little laser pointer on the side, which is pretty cool. Right, we got this guy that we know from the previews is called a Revelatum, which is Latin from Revelatus, which means to show, to uncover, to reveal, to disclose. So 2 ways this could go. Maybe he's some kind of investigator or detective, that's sort of the intelligence officer that's with the sort of SWAT team, right, if you want. And so maybe he's like an action monkey, he gets like a free APL to do a mission action or something like that. And the space revolver. I mean, this is, he has like it's like the front half of a bolt pistol, but the back half of like a magnum. Fits the kind of detective look, detective vibe. He doesn't have a shotgun over his back. Many of these guys have shotguns over their back still, so that's interesting. Also, interestingly, he has like sergeant-style stripes on his arm, so maybe he's some kind of second in command. If we assume that the leader has some kind of orders mechanic, maybe he got this Revelatum also does the confidant veteran sort of thing, where he can take over whatever the leader's ability is, and he can do it if the leader dies. Although, given that your leader has a shotgun and is likely to be able to stand near the back, and this guy has a pistol and is likely, I think, to be running up doing mission actions, then perhaps that's less useful. Or maybe he's some kind of spotter for changing conceals to reveals, and the reveal thing, the Revelatum thing, is more literal, which was my initial thought, but then there's another guy later on that also looks like he does that. So one of those 2 things, I would say. I really don't like the head on these. I mean, it's the best thing in the world to complain about a set of models, because if you don't like a couple of the heads, I'm sure there's going to be other heads on the sprue that I can use. Or I could find a bear head. Like, I'm sure these are probably chunky enough that a bear Space Marine head wouldn't look awful. But yeah, I don't really like this head. I don't get what's going on with the I don't like it. I don't like the haircut, I don't think. Right, the subductor. So the subductor is really interesting. I don't want to dwell on it, but you can see a really good example here of what I mean about this supposed to be a gauntleted fist, which is also an ancient symbol, meaning overwhelming force, right? The mailed fist of government, right? Which I think is what they're going for with the fit. Like, it's problematic on the weird keyring things because they haven't included the wrist part, which is what makes it look most gauntlet-y. I don't want to dwell. It was just an example of what I was talking about. It says in the article he's also got a fist-shaped... so if you have fist problems, he's got a fist-shaped purity seal, which... I mean, I think that's cool, because I just think the idea of them crafting this little brass thing in the shape of a fist and puring the... Purity seals are the funniest thing. Like, if you really think about it, I think we're all kind of numb to how absurd some of the things in 40k are, because we have been playing the game for decades, and it's like, oh yeah, Purity Seal. And you almost think, oh yeah, Purity Seal, that makes perfect sense. I paint 2 or 3 of those every day. Man, little wax seal in the shape of a fist on a riot shield. That's going to be there for like 13 seconds before somebody hits it off, right? But it's still cool. So... It does say in the article that this guy, you can build an entire squad of these. You can build a subductor squad for 40k. So where are we going to be in Kill Team in terms of Riot Shield guys? Now, I've seen some people say, oh, he's not going to be a specialist for us at all. You can't take any Riot Shields. They only included him to show him to 40k players. I firmly believe we're going to be able to take at least one Riot Shield guy. He's going to be one of our specialists. I think it would be really strange if we couldn't do that. Whether we'll be able to take multiples, personally, I don't think we will be able to, but it would be awesome if we could, because it would mean that you could make an interesting sideboard, probably just against Harlequins, right? In the same way you hear Phobos players, all 6 of them go, oh yeah, against Harlequins I go all Reavers. Maybe against Harlequins, it's a bit of a meme at this point, but yeah, against Harlequins we go all Subductors and just have a lot of shields. Maybe that's something you want to do. I don't know. As to exactly how the shield will work, don't know. They change the shield mechanics every time they do a shield. Presumably, the core thing is it will give you a free, an extra parry, maybe +1 to your armor save. Don't know. Alright, but a shield guy is going to be in combat. Hopefully, he's going to be quite good in combat. Weirdly, he seems to have 2 combat weapons. He's got his sort of shock maul or power maul here, and then he's got like a metal truncheon at the back here, which is like a lesser combat weapon. I know it's a lesser combat weapon because the Churgent is holding it, right, as his only combat weapon. But fortunately, I see this little handle. I'm pretty sure the Churgent has his shotgun on his back, right? So this is the shotgun. So he's still going to be, unlike a lot of medics, he's still going to be as useful as a basic trooper because he's still going to have that shotgun, which is pretty cool. Other than that, he's going to be a medic. He's going to heal and revive, like... I'm pretty sure he's not going to do anything interesting. Notice on his wrist there, he has like his little corporal stripe, so maybe in the lore, like he's the 3rd in command after the Revelatum. So I don't actually suggest that there'll be anything mechanical for that. I just think it's interesting that the medic would be like the 3rd in command potentially, right? Okay, the interesting slide about the gunner. So the big gunner that we were shown has a heavy stubber. Now this wasn't totally unexpected because the Arbites gained heavy stubber in Necromunda 2nd edition in the multi-part metal kit. So the heavy stubber is, well, this is taken from Chaos Cultists in the compendium. So 5 dice, 3/4 heavy Caesar's Fusillade. Now it could be hitting on 4s, could be hitting on 3s. We don't know the BS stat for Arbites yet. I'm awaiting the shitstorm when it's 4 or 3, because if it's 4, it'll be, oh my gosh, doesn't Games Workshop listen? Why have they given us a BS4 team again? And if it's 3, it'll be, oh my gosh, are they seriously saying that some policemen are better shots than the Kazakin? I'm going to rend my garments and flagellate myself in the street outside Games Workshop headquarters. Like, you know, it's going to happen. But apart from the BS, I think that you could take that in 2 ways. Apart from the BS, I think that the stats on the heavy stubber are pretty good. Now, in the video, we see a gun here, which I think is a melter gun with a weird little hole drilled in the barrel by the person that built the model. I don't think it's a flamer. I'm pretty sure it's a melter gun, and I'm pretty sure this is a grenade launcher. I'm really pleased to see a grenade launcher because for me a grenade launcher is a really iconic piece of kit for the Arbites, and I really hope the grenade launcher can have like smoke grenades and choke grenades, you know, the old smoke grenades and the tear gas grenades. I think that is really iconic and really it's the heavy weapon that police should have, right? Like, I guess having a 40 cal is funny, and Grimdark and 40k, and yeah, my law enforcement officers have this giant 40 cal machine gun, but or this microwave gun for shooting holes in tanks. But the grenade launcher is the one that makes sense, right? You know, yes, if the bad guys have a tank, you can put a crack grenade in and you can have a go, but more usefully against the kind of things you expect to fight, you've got these other grenades. So that's pretty cool. Since we have these hidden options that weren't fully revealed of the grenade launcher and the melter gun, it does beg the question of, are we getting a plasma gun and a flamer? And if that's a question, how many gunners are we getting? Is it just 1? Is it, you know, as in slots in the list, is it 1? Is it 2? Is it 2 but with the sniper? Is it 3 with the sniper? I don't know. At this point, I'm assuming that we're getting 1 gunner and a sniper as a separate data sheet. If that's the case, I really hope we don't get a plasma gun. right? Flamer, yeah, okay, sure, why not? And probably nobody will take it. If you get a plasma gun, then you take a plasma gun, right? If you get a plasma gun, you take a plasma gun in open world, you take a plasma gun in Into the Dark, you take a plasma gun against Harlequins. It doesn't really matter what you're doing, you take a plasma gun. If it's this, and you've got a grenade launcher, a melter gun, and a heavy stubber, you've got a really meaningful choice. I fear the grenade launcher will probably map out to be better than the heavy stubber, but I feel like grenade launcher and melter gun, like the range and the short range thing, is a really meaningful choice. You'd want to roster both. Maybe the heavy stubber has an edge over the grenade launcher that I can't think of on the top of my head as well. Yeah. Pretty sure you'd always rather have a crack grenade out of a grenade launcher than 5. Mind you, it's 5 dice, so maybe against something with invulnerable saves, you'd rather have the heavy stubber. So, yes, actually, you have him for invulnerable saves, as much as you'd think it would be for horde clearing. Fusilade's pointless. You'd have him for invulnerable saves. You'd have the grenade launcher most of the time, right? And then you might take the melter gun if you were going into Intercession or Nurgle Legionaries, maybe, where a crack grenade isn't going to cut it. Yeah, or especially if you're going into an elite team on Into the Dark, although, of course, the blast weapon does get lethal 5 up on Into the Dark, but, yeah. So, I think those 3, where you pick one, like, there's real incentive to sideboard the other 2 and to move around in your roster. As soon as you add in a plasma, you take it all the time, right? And as soon as you add in the flamer, it sits in a box, because if I had loads of gunner slots, I might sub in a flamer Into the Dark for shits and giggles. But if it's one gunner slot, I'm never going to sub in a flamer when I could have a melter gun. Right? So we'll see. But for my taste, I hope the grenade launcher, because to me that's the big iconic gun for the Arbites. I hope the grenade launcher settles to be a thing that you're not really gimping yourself if you choose to take the grenade launcher. We got this guy who I am dubbing the Technician. Right, he is the most mysterious model. He has a weird pistol. If anybody, Zimbad swears blind that he's seen this before somewhere, but he doesn't know where. The only thing it kind of reminds me, and why I've called him a Technician, is it reminds me of like the greeble on the end of like a Tech Marine's little mechadendrite. So, maybe this is your action monkey, right? A lot of people say, well, he's looking at a thing. This is clearly an Auspex. Clearly, he's the spotter. So, maybe, like, basically, it comes down to, if the Revelatum is an action monkey, this guy's probably a spotter. And if the Revelatum is a spotter, this guy's probably an action monkey, I would say. And obviously, they'll have some more abilities around that as well. But it's really hard to speculate what they might be. He has a weird head. Unless these eyes things, unless this is really mechanically significant, he's getting a head swap, because it's not so much the siphon filter goggles, they're okay, like, but the why we have to have the bald and then the sort of mohawk, but then it's not like properly, it's like he enjoys going to punk rock concerts on the weekend, but when he's at work, he has to like have his hair a neutral colour and not have loads of product in it. So he's got the sides shaved, but then he's just got this kind of flop of brown hair going. It just makes him look ill. And it's not the first time I've seen this haircut in 40k. It's obviously in the big book of 40k. Like, I can make my peace with the flat top. Like, fine, it's a military unit. He's got a flat top. It's kind of iconic in certain ways, especially to Americans. Cool. But I recently finished a course of chemotherapy, or I really like punk rock gigs on the weekend, but I'm not allowed to wear dime product in my hair at work. Like, I really don't like the top of that head. There you go. Cyber Mastiff and the Leashmaster. So, first and most important question. The Arbites look like they're all blokes. And I've had this discussion before on my Discord. Is the Leashmaster a female miniature? Right. I'll leave you to look at the screen and look at Warcom and try and suss it out. Are they a mixed gender unit that's just quite low key? I mean, personally, I'm a pervert, so I like boob plate. And there is precedent to say that the Arbites have boob plate. I love Sisters of Battle. I got thousands of points to Sisters of Battle, so I get it. But maybe they're supposed to be an all-male unit. Maybe we're just not supposed to know the gender of the Adeptus Arbites. But looking at the bottom of the head and looking at the way the torso sits relative to the models, maybe this is a female miniature. Let me know in the comments what you think. Anyway, most people probably don't care. I have an ongoing thing where I care about the gender ratios coming out of the Scolopagenium, because if the sisters are taking... Like, you've got the Scolopagenium, for people who don't know, which is orphans, war orphans, of high-ranking officers in the Imperium, or priests, or bastard sons of inquisitors, that sort of thing, right? And from the Scolopagenium, you take all of your missionaries, you take all of your, I want to say stormtroopers, Tempestus Scions, you take all of the Sisters of Battle, you take the Adeptus Arbites, and many, but not every Inquisitor, right? Now, if you have the sisters that recruit exclusively female, then it makes sense to me that the as far as we know, the Tempestus Scions exclusively male, because you'd have that deficit within the Scolopagenium. The Arbites, though, should be mixed gender force. It matters to me. It may not matter to you. I've probably talked about it for too long. But if it matters to you, let me know in the comments what you think the gender of this small policeman is. Thanks. I feel very silly, but thanks. We've talked a lot about the dog, right? We had a whole video about the dog. He's a dog. I'm still pretty sure he's going to be a standard dog like Kroothound or Aximilian, who has now been demoted to Canid, but he remains Aximilian in my heart. But with a 4-up save, because he's wearing armor, right? Cool. The Leashmaster's more of a puzzle. Obviously, she's going to buff the dog in some way. Perhaps in the same way that the whippy lady in Novitiates has a buff that only applies to the chainsword lady. Maybe she has a buff. Maybe she can give the dog +1 action point, or grant the dog the ability to do mission actions, or maybe she makes the dog better at combat, or makes him move even faster so he can move like 5 circle. Who knows, right? Either way, the Leashmaster seems to have a shotgun again on the back of her body, so however useful or useless she turns out to be as a dog whisperer, she's still going to be someone you will include over a normal trooper, because she's a normal trooper plus, which I really like. They finally realised, yes, all our specialists need to be as good as a normal trooper plus something. Right, we've got a guy that I'm calling the Interrogator. The Interrogator has a leather spiked hood and some spiked shackles. So that's an aesthetic. I've heard it speculated that these are the titular soul shackles, right? Which does make a degree of sense, given that the lore is supposed to be that the Arbites have come to arrest a powerful psyker who has fled to the Gallowdark to hide from Imperial justice. And maybe these are special shackles that if you put the shackles on a psyker, the psyker can no longer utilise psychic powers. That is definitely a thing that exists. They look quite similar, don't they, to the shackles on demon hosts. So maybe that is what's going on here. So, in game terms, what do I think this guy's going to be? A combat character, obviously, with probably some kind of stun mechanic, and then maybe some edge case rules relating to psychers, right? So, if you happen to be a Thousand Sons Sorcerer, or a Grey Knight, or something like that, then he might have some kind of anti-psyker shenanigans. You just don't know. See this little stalk again? So, he looks like he does come with his shotgun as well, so that's pretty cool. Like, hopefully I'm not wrong, and this is not like a water canteen or something, but pretty sure this is his shotgun handle here, so he can pull his shotgun out from over his shoulder and shotgun away with the rest of your team, which is good. And then we've got the basic trooper. I don't feel like we're going to be forced to take a regular trooper. They showed 11 models and a dog, but unless I'm misremembering what they said during the stream, the box is actually going to be 10 models and a dog. So I think they showed the trooper so that 40k players could see a shotgun wielding Arbite, because they may well want to buy the box and make 10 shotgun guys. But I don't think we're going to be forced to take a trooper. I think our team is going to be... Well, whether it's going to be 10 man plus a dog... The box will be 10 man plus a dog. Well, I think the team could be 10 plus a dog, or it could be 10 and you don't have to take the dog, but you can, but the dog counts as one of your 10, or it could be 11, but you can swap out the dog, but then you don't get the spare body unless you get a second box if you choose to swap out the dog. Or it could be wrong, and it could be 11 plus dog for a 12-man team, and you can swap out the dog to make it a 12 Arbite team if that's what you want to do. I just don't know. I am assuming we only get... No, you know what? I think it's going to be 12 models in the box. I think it's going to be 12 models in the box. I've just clocked, because basically on the stream they said, "Oh, you can build 36 different models out of this set," and of course that's not true. What he's loosely referring to probably is that you can do. He remembers it's 12 models, and then it's like, oh, you can do all shields, all shotguns, all the kill team stuff. 12 by 3, 36. I think actually probably more than 36 because it's going to have different gunners in. But sorry, that means something to about 5 people that also watch the stream. If you know how many models are in the box, is it 10 plus the dog or is it 11 plus the dog? Let me know. I recall it being said it was 10 plus the dog. The preview shows 11 plus the dog. Let me know. I have assuming we only get 1 gunner slot. Maybe we get 2, maybe we get 3, maybe we get 7. I don't know. Right. But if it's 1 gunner slot, then you've still got enough specialists to fill it up without needing to take any troopers. If it is potentially a 12 model team, then yeah, then you might use 1 or 2 troopers, and you probably need a second box if you ever have designs on not taking the dog. I feel like it's going to be a team where you want a second box to play it optimally, to potentially, even if we can't take little shields, if you want the different gunners to be able to sideboard and swap around, and you probably want 1 or 2 extra troopers, so you're quite probably going to end up needing a second box, right? I think I've talked myself into that. Yeah. Final thoughts. First question, do you like the models aesthetically? Some people are whining online about them and they don't like them. I think the models are amazing. Like, of all the complaints I could have about this box, the actual physical objects is not one. What do you think of my... Like, I understand. If your complaint is, this is a boring kill team because it's similar to other kill teams, yes, good, understood. But the models don't look good is not... Like, I don't understand that. So, please, if it's an aesthetic complaint, I'd love to see it articulated down below. I don't like them because I miss the Judge Dredd quilted green boots. I don't know. What do you think of my rules guesses based on the models? What hopes and fears do you have before we see the rules? And is there anything on the miniatures that jumped out to you that I just haven't talked about? Please like the video. Please subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Please join the Discord if you've not joined the Discord already. Please use the Element Games referral link if you're in the UK, and if you wanted to buy stuff there anyway, using my link means I get a little bit of money. If you have loads of spare money and you want to send some of it to me for essentially no reason, you can join the channel by clicking on the Join Channel button. There are about half a dozen members-only videos, and there's a bonus video you can go and watch just by clicking the button without giving me any money. There's like a little, why would you want to be a member? Oh, it's all this stuff video. I think that's everything. Cheerio. Have a really good evening. Bye-bye-bye.